Good morning, good morning, good morning. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and you are breathing. Today is Tuesday, November the 21st, 2023. My name is Stephen Carnegie, and welcome to This Is Just a Thought. Hey, before we go any further, I just want to ask each and every one of you that are listening, or maybe you're a first-time listener or a returning listener, hit that like and subscribe button and also that bell so you can get notified when I drop these podcasts. Keep you in the loop. Hey, a lot of interesting topics we are going to discuss. You want to be kept aware of what's going on around you and also what I'm talking about. It's either yay or nay for me. You could like it or you couldn't. I mean, just let me know. Hey, like I always say, get in that comment section. Let me know what you think. I'm pretty thick-skinned. I won't bite. But hit that like and subscribe button and also that bell so you can get notified when I drop these podcasts. All right, let's move along here. Man, today's word of the day is fortitude, which means strength of mind. Fortitude. Man, I hope everyone is enjoying their Tuesday. Truthfully, here in North Carolina, man, just like much of the eastern seaboard, it is raining, and its temperatures are going to drop. Started raining sometimes in the wee hours of the morning, and what they're saying is by sometime tonight, around midnight, we could quite possibly get some severe thunderstorms and maybe even a tornado here in this part of North Carolina and much of the southeast also. So, but a good thing is, a plus, if it does, it's going to rain. Of course, you know it's been raining here today and tomorrow. They're saying it's going to rain pretty much the entire morning, and then it moves out. So Thanksgiving is going to be somewhat pleasant. That's a plus. A lot of people are going to be traveling to see their family and friends. And also the airlines, wow, last year the airlines caught pretty much hell. They didn't have enough staffing. There were some issues with the airplanes, the mechanics of them, but they have vowed this year they're ready for the rush, and they've even hired some more TSA agents. So get people through those check-ins and check-outs and screenings pretty fast. Hey, we'll see what happens. Yeah, last year was just horrible. Man, what was that? But, hey, it is what it is. It's going to be what it's going to be. We all know coming back, of course, from COVID, it wasn't just the airline industry that was struggling. Hey, every business that you could think of was struggling with staffing issues. So it looks like now the airlines have finally figured it out, so they're going to hire some more people. We'll see what happens with that. We will see what happens with that. Man, I'm not too big a fan of the rain, but I sure do hope and pray we don't get those severe thunderstorms and tornadoes. Don't need it. Don't want it. Don't want it. Especially not this close to Thanksgiving. Yeah, just don't. Well, last night, Monday Night Football, the Super Bowl rematch. Well, it went pretty good. The Kelsey brothers, hey, you got one Kelsey that plays for, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs tight end, and then you got another Kelsey brother that plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's their starting center, and he leads that, what do they call it, the brotherly push, that old school quarterback sneak. But last night, wow, it was a surprise. Not just to me, but to many. Many had predicted the Chiefs to win, but they lost. The Eagles, 21-17. Wow. That was a surprising game. And if you watched the game, you had to notice, just like I did, and many others I'm sure they noticed, the Chiefs didn't look so tough. The on-again, off-again Chiefs. That's just what I call them. They're starting to look like they did earlier this season when Travis Kelce, the starting, of course, tight end for the Chiefs, were out. Patrick Mahomes was struggling completing passes, and it happened again last night because his receivers, I don't know what they were on. They were dropping balls, key balls, left and right. In fact, the very last play of the game for him, Scatton. Wow, I know he's hurting after that. That ball, it wasn't perfectly thrown, but he had every opportunity to catch it, but he just couldn't hold on to it. And that, of course, once that happened, that ended the game pretty much. as far as the stats go, wow. Well, it was a pretty. It wasn't a superstar performance from either quarterback. Jalen Hurts for the Eagles and Patrick Mahomes for the on-again, off-again Chiefs. Mahomes had 24 of 23, 177 yards, 2 TDs, and 1 interception. And on the other side of the ball, Jalen Hurts, he went 14 for 22 with 150 yards in the air. 0 TDs and 1 interception, but he had 2 rushing TDs. Well, he moves his feet very much like Patrick Mahomes, their style of play. I won't say it mirrors. I won't say it mirrors, but it's pretty close. I mean, they will move their feet. They will get out of that pocket and move around and complete some pass. And as far as it goes last night, it looks like Jalen Hurts, even though he didn't have the yardage, he got the job done. He just did. So it was a pretty good game, evenly matched. If you were looking for a blowout, that didn't happen. Like I said, it was pretty evenly matched, and the Eagles came away with it. Then the Eagles running back, Swift, he might have been the star of the game, even though the stats don't say it. But he had 12 carries for 76 yards and 1 rushing TD. But that 1 rushing TD, that got him going. And he continued the rest of the night picking up key yards when they needed it. So, hey, hats off to the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. Because they put a hurting on those Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs came back and, hey, well, they were playing at Kansas City. If you've been following that series, that is quite possibly, I want to say, in a few years, that's the first time the Eagles have won. Whether it be regular season or playoff or Super Bowl. It was supposed to be a Super Bowl rematch. Is it an indication of what's to come? Because I won't say those are the top 2 teams in the NFL, but they're pretty damn close. They are that good. They do play solid football. They just do. And so last night, if that was an indication, we might see some new Super Bowl champs. Just might. Good game, though. I got to say, I sat down and watched it, and of course, I was flipping back and forth between that and my wrestling. I gotta watch my wrestling. Hey, I just do. Ever since I was a kid, I watch my wrestling. Wrestling for you Northerners, but it's wrestling down here for us Southerners. We love ourselves some good old-fashioned wrestling. Yeah, it was pretty good last night. I don't really talk that much about wrestling here on This Is Just a Thought. Maybe I should start talking about it because it looks like Randy Orton's coming back. If you know anything, Randy's been gone for a minute. He's been injured, and he's coming back along with Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso and Sami Zayn. And they're going up against, of course, Judgment Day and Drew McIntyre. I mean, the deck was stacked with Judgment Day and Drew McIntyre, but after the announcement last night by Cody Rhodes that old Randy Orton was coming back, hey, things might be looking good for him. Who knows? That's all my little sports, my wrestling report I'm going to do. Well, a lot of people, surprisingly, a lot of people don't like wrestling. I guess they say it's for kids. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But it has stuck with me all these years, and wherever I've been in this great country or in the world, I always made sure I stayed in tune to my wrestling. Just did. And hey, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like I said, I was flipping back and forth between channels. Hey, I still watch the game, and I watch me some wrestling also. All right, let's move along here, man. Hey, look, yesterday, if you listened to yesterday's podcast, I talked about Argentina and their economy is in turmoil. Their inflation rate is like 142.7%, and there's I told you guys that they had elected a president this past weekend, Sunday to be more specific, and he has vowed to turn things around. But he's getting a little backlash, quite frankly. A lot of South American presidents aren't too keen on him. They said, hey, he's bad for business. Now, if you're saying to yourself, why are they saying that? That guy, he's newly elected. He's coming in. He's vowing to change things around, get that economy back to where it should be, where people can afford to live, eat, and wear clothes. Because if you listen last night, I talked about how those a lot of people, not in particular this one retiree that was pretty much working for $1 an hour along with her pension with a 142% inflation rate. So he's coming. His campaign promise was, hey, he's going to turn things around. He's going to make it better for the citizens of Argentina. So why is he catching hell? Well, he has been compared. Listen to this. He's been compared to a Latin American Donald Trump. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Apparently, he's a conservative. And quite a few countries there in South America or Latin America, they're pretty much liberal. So they're none too pleased with him. And even some in the international community, they're kind of standing on edge also, because with China and Russia on his campaign trail, he made it clear he's none too pleased with them as far as that trade goes. And he's also made it clear about the United States also, because the United States is not happy with him in the least. They made it clear also. But so, you have Mexico. Even Mexico chimed in. Why is Mexico chiming in? Yeah, you guys ain't looking too tough down there, I gotta say, with these drug lords and these, immigrants coming across the border, escaping all of this. Mexico president chimed in. He said he's known as a leftist president, liberal, and he said he respected the voters and their decision, but he doubts the win will do anything to elevate Argentina's problem. You got problems on your own. Why are you running? Okay, you have some issues to deal with yourself, so why are you trying to bash this man? Because he has a different political view than you do. And maybe this is what is needed for Argentina, because it's obvious the old way isn't working. If you got folks that are 2/5 of the country is living in poverty, you got an inflation rate of 142.7% as of October. Maybe the old style of politics ain't working. Maybe they should try something new. And I certainly don't think the Mexican president should be chiming in. You shouldn't even open your mouth, homie. You shouldn't even open your mouth. And Bolivia's president even chimed in. He said he took to social media, in fact, and he said he would never wish success to fascism, ultra-conservatism, or neoliberalism. Ooh, use some pretty big words there, buddy. But you said you never wish success to another. Are you saying to him, the newly elected or president-elect president of Argentina? Or are you saying it to the folks, the residents there? Yeah, that's the second one. Then you had the presidents of Venezuela and Colombia. They chimed in as well. The U.S. has had a little on-again, off-again relationship with Venezuela as far as that oil goes. And President Biden is trying to get back in their good graces because old President Trump is like, no. I don't care what you say, what you think, how you feel. No, we're not dealing with you. And like I said, they chimed in as well, and they denounced the victory. The Colombian president went as far as to say it is sad for Latin America. Wow. Apparently those in Latin America, the presidents of these other Latin American countries, they're not too happy with this guy. And it could have a lot to do with this next part, because President Trump called to wish him good luck on his victory. In fact, President Trump said, "Make Argentina great again." Whoa. Yeah, that's got a lot. Well, it clearly looks like old President Trump's not liked anywhere internationally, and even here in the United States also. Now, the international community, as far as Russia and China goes, because the newly elected president, during his campaign, he made it clear he was not too happy with Russia or China and their business dealings as far as the trade. But yet and still, Russian President Vladimir Putin said it was a good day. He wished them much success. China did, and pretty much chimed in as well and said, hey, we wish you much success no matter what. But to those other countries in Latin America, their economy's not doing so well either. And they've been in power however many years or whatever, what have you. I really don't understand, or I do understand. It's just like here in the United States. It's just their politics. You got one group that is liberal. There's got one group that is conservative. They don't like each other. Whoever's in office, the other group is going to say, no, they're bad. It's going to end in a horrible disaster. But I got to say, for Argentina, with that 142.7% inflation rate, and quite possibly could still be rising, you guys got to try something different. Folks can't even afford to eat, can't afford to buy clothes, shelter, the basic essentials of life. As human beings on this earth, if we work, we at least would hope to be able to provide those basic necessities, and it's not happening. So like I said before, that old style or old way of politics, it ain't working. You got to try something new. And maybe this guy, he's fresh blood. Maybe he can turn it around. Like I said yesterday, Argentina is the second exporter of grain in Latin America. That's their main economy, contributing factor. So if he can turn it around and bolster that international trade, maybe they can get out of that slump that they're in. Well, they ain't in a slump. They're in a flat-out hole. So, hey, I think those other guys, like I said, they're liberals. They're what we would equate to liberalism around here in the United States. And just like I said, when there's opposing sides, one is going to bash the other. That's just politics. Pretty sad if you ask me. Just is. Pretty darn sad. But hey, this guy, he's came in, he's vowed, he said, hey, I'm going to change things around. We're going to cut all this excess spending, all this corruption, because just like with those other Latin American countries, like I said yesterday, that is, I don't mean to sound harsh or hateful or stereotypical, but that is pretty much what a lot of Latin American countries, as far as their politics goes, is known for. Just is. And Mexico, I ain't saying you're the top of the heap, but man, you're not that far off from being on the top of the heap as far as corruption goes. Because we've heard numerous times, numerous stories of those drug lords, cartel members that somehow, some way infiltrate and influence the politicians until they can't anymore and they end up killing them. So I would think you might want to be on that same page as this guy. I don't know that much about him. I'm not saying he's the best thing since sliced bread with butter on it. But the citizens of Argentina have spoken, like you said, and they have decided to run with this guy. So maybe you should just sit tight and see what happens. Now, what did he said something about you too? Probably did. Just like Russia and China, that trade. If Argentina is the second exporter of grain, that's their bread and butter, and hey, they want their fair shot and they want their fair price also. So hey, can't get mad at them. Just like with Venezuela and their oil. I mean, if you're in control of it, you set the tone. Now with Venezuela, it may be a little different. I think they're leaning towards more communism, and Russia has his hands in their pockets, and whatever, what have you. And Russia, Russia, Putin, he wants to control it, and he knows the U.S. needs it. So hey, of course he's going to have his hand in it. Of course he's going to have a say. But hey, like I said, this guy's brand new. He might be it. Maybe he can turn it around. So the people of Argentina have spoken. They elected him. They got rid of the old guy and that old style of politics, the old way. They blamed a lot of folks. You can't be mad at them. They blamed the former president for their woes and troubles with their economy and this inflation. I mean, hey, it is what it is, and it's going to be what it's going to be. So, hey, we'll see what happens with that. I'll keep you guys updated on that. Argentina is certainly I think the reason why I'm talking more and more about Argentina, because when I read the article and I started to do some research, I had to say it kind of led me down the path, something that I had stayed away from international politics, international trade, and the international economy. But more and more, as I get older and older, and just like I've said numerous times with COVID, it exposed a lot. And now we know that COVID, it broke the supply chain. It just left things in complete shambles. So now more and more I'm growing and I'm learning the effect on the international economy as it relates to us here in the United States. Because we are indeed a part of that international economy, whether we want to believe it or not, or whether we think we are the top dog or not. If anything like a global pandemic can shift things, you guys should have caught that with COVID. So that's why I'm doing more. I'm starting to do more and more international news or reports because, hey, COVID exposed it. It opened my eyes. I'm sure it opened a lot of folks' eyes. So, hey, it is what it is. All right, let's move along to the next story here, man. Durham. We're gonna go local. Durham. They released a juvenile crime statistic report for the months, they're saying from January of this year to September of this year. And I got to be honest with you. I'm sure many of you, of my followers who stay here in Durham or from a surrounding area, the crime here, just like in many cities in this country we live in, the crime here is just, it's off the hook. Let's just be honest with each other. It's beyond belief. Durham, it does have a high crime rate, and it shows in this report, but this report dealt with the juveniles, and it caught my attention. I was like, wow. And between, when I was a juvenile, there was no way in the world I was thinking of doing the things these kids are doing now. And wow, the numbers. What they're saying is, as far as the crime goes for juveniles, there's been 273 reported crimes of children or juveniles under the age of 18. You got 54 larceny reports, 34 weapons violations, 29 simple assaults, and so far 3 juveniles have been arrested for murder. What in the world is going on with our youth? Now, the police chief, she came out and she said, she's calling on the community to not just step in, but stand up. What she's saying is, hey, I got a staffing shortage. I'm only at 77% as far as having all the officers that I need. I need more officers. But we know the tale with this city council, when she came to him about a year or two ago and told him, hey, the crime's going up. And this juvenile crime report echoes that. She said, I need more officers, and they denied it. And of course, once again, they went to defunding and hired more mental health workers and this crisis intervention specialist or whatever, what have you, which is needed. And it ties into the very last story I'm going to talk about here. It's needed. I'm not going to deny that. But with numbers like this, and without juveniles running rampant like this, I don't say policing or over-policing or putting them in jail is the answer, but you got 3 kids that have just been arrested for murder. And this is only from the first 9 months of the year. You got 54 larcenies, 39 weapons violations, so this means these kids are walking around with guns. That's a problem. I don't think... I get the argument when I hear people say, well, they're marginalized, they're poor, they don't have the access to things that you or someone else may have, so that's why they turn to the streets. The mother and father, they're really not in the picture like they should be. Get it, got it, understand it. You'll get no arguments or quarrels from me. But just like the police chief said, and the newly elected mayor Leo Williams is echoing, it's time for the community to step up. They're saying they're going to come up with more programs, put more funding in programs, because there's really nothing for these kids to do but turn to the streets. True. But I don't want to sound like a heartless bastard, but how long are we going to allow this to be our crutch? As a black community, and as a community in general, to allow these kids to run around like that. You got 3 kids arrested for murder. You got 39 or 34 weapons violations. And also, they're saying that property crime is up also. With property crime, that could be breaking and entering, breaking into folks' homes, cars, and whatever, what have you. It can't be a crutch. There has to be a change. And just like the police chief says, he says, hey, I don't need the citizens to not only step in, I need them to step up. We got to step up. We got to do something. We got to get a hold of our kids. Now, we've all heard that old saying, the school to prison pipeline. Yeah. With numbers like this, and you may be saying, well, that's only 9 months. That ain't that bad. In comparison to other cities in this country. This is little old Durham. And I ain't saying we're a small hit town. But a lot of these kids we know. A lot of these kids we have known. So what are we going to do to help stop and curb this problem? Like I said, I give you the belief that these kids really don't have anything to do. Mom and dad aren't in the picture. There's no after school programs. Funding may have been cut. They don't have access. They can't get there. Whatever, what have you. I'll give it to you. But you got to say to yourself at some point in time, we got to make a difference. We got to find a way to get over this hurdle. And it may just be a hurdle that we set forth. How many times have you, and I know I've said it also, how many times have you said, you see these kids out here acting crazy, and you say to yourself, it ain't my problem? How many have said that, honestly, truthfully? I know I have. It's a shame. Think back to your own childhood. I mean, I ain't saying I was the best kid there was, but there's no way in the world I was thinking with these numbers, these things, these crimes that are being committed by juveniles under the age of 18. There's no way in the world I was thinking that. I couldn't fathom it. There was no way in the world I was going to do that. I was raised in a single-family household on welfare also. But I knew that wasn't the avenue that I wanted to take. I ain't no better than nobody else, but to have that stamp on your life as a juvenile criminal, and it does follow you the rest of your life. You can get out of it, but it's a hard struggle. You're going to have to do a whole lot to get out of it, to get over it. So what are we going to do as citizens, as members of the community, as parents, as aunts, uncles, older brothers, sisters, cousins, or good close family friends? What are we going to do to change and alter this path that these kids are going down? Their mindset is not that of growing and maturing and becoming a better part of society, a better productive part of society. Let's be honest, their mindset is complete and utter chaos. And the sad thing is, a lot of them really just don't care. They've been down this path for so long, they can't see anything but this. This is their life. I'm not one of those guys that stands on a soapbox and looks down and wags his fingers and turns his nose up. And I ain't one of those guys, those advocates that say, woe is me, oh, the troubles of the black youth, they're so marginalized and disenfranchised and poor and underprivileged either. But there's got to be a breaking point. 3 have been arrested for murder under the age of 18. Now, a lot of folks are going to say, like I said, in the bigger cities, that's nothing, but this is Durham, North Carolina. At least I think it's a lot. I think it says something as to the state of not just these kids, but to the adults also. Where's your mind at? Got your own problems? Got your own woes and troubles? So it's not your problem. Can very well be if they show up at your doorstep or they show up behind you with a weapon, a gun. Is this part of the fight for the gun control in this country also? I brought that up a year or so ago about the gun control because a lot of these kids, those guns they hold in their possession are illegal. Where's the fight for that? Those illegal guns. Yeah, I understand the mental health aspect where those that have guns can go and buy and they shouldn't. I get it, got it, understand it. But there also needs to be a fight for illegal guns in this country also, because our kids are getting hold of it and they're using them. So I don't fully support, or I can't fully get behind this gun control or what they call common sense gun legislation in this country. I think you need to have some common sense gun control for illegal weapons also. These kids aren't just walking around picking these guns up. Somebody's selling it to them. Where are the guns coming from? Illegally. Yeah, I know there's going to be an argument that, hey, they steal these guns, they trade them off amongst each other. Yeah, but that ain't that ain't where it's really coming from. Now, is it? No, it's not. Just thought. I'll get off my soapbox. I'll shut my trap. I won't talk or say anything else. I'll just leave it at that. But that's my little spiel on it. I can't give you the whole woe is me, underprivileged. I can't give it to you like that. There are many more contributing factors into these crime numbers also. It's time for everybody to step up and step in. Handle your business. Stop talking about them. Stop shying away from them. Do so. A lot of them are right in your own families. Hell, I might have some in mind. Who knows? All right. Let's go get it. Man, we all remember when this 988 suicide and crisis lifeline was introduced. I believe it was about a year ago, or it may have been sometime earlier this year. They came out and they said, hey, the regular number of 1-800-SUICIDE or whatever, what have you, was too long. So they shortened it to 988. And when folks can feel they're in a crisis and they feel like they want to harm themselves or harm others, they could call and someone could quite possibly call and talk them down. Man, it looks like after 2.5 million calls, that national hotline can't keep up with the demand. So what is going on? It's mind blowing that I won't call it mind blowing, and it's a strong indication of how people, our citizens, our youth, older adults, younger, the mid-age adults, or whatever, what have you, how they're struggling with dealing with life. If in less than a year, if 2.5 million calls have been made, and now you have those that are in charge of this hotline saying, hey, we can't keep up. We're struggling. The demand is too overwhelming. We have a huge problem in this country once again. Just like I said earlier with the common sense gun legislation for those that they're saying people that have mental health issues shouldn't be allowed to have guns. I can give you that. But this right here, wow. And what they echoed or what they said is, of course, we know at this time of the year, there's a lot of folks that get depressed, that get down. The holidays, they could have lost a loved one, could have lost their job. They could not be able to provide for those Christmas presents. Now, the hotline, it launched last year sometime, and it took a while to get it going and whatever or what have you, and they finally got it up and running. But what they're saying, according to the Department of Health and Human Services, 94,763 people have called this hotline in North Carolina between its launch date until the 23rd of October of this year. And it's still not functioning at full capacity. And of course, they said that that's a huge problem. What they're narrowing it down to is there's an absence of mental health resources, lack of awareness, and enough stable funding. Here we go with that funding again. Shouldn't all of this have been worked out before you opened up this hotline? Did you, maybe, just maybe it's a naivete on my part, and now it looks like it's a naivete on the part of those that started this hotline. They didn't think it was going to be this many people having this many problems. But to have 2.5 million calls and you can't keep up, and just over a year and some change, that might just signal a lack of planning and truly understanding what you're getting ready to deal with. It is a good idea, and it does. At the time, it sounded like a good idea. It was feasible. It was workable. It was manageable. Because, like I said, we've known for a long time, especially coming out of COVID, because this was started in July of 2022. We knew there were going to be a lot of people dealing with mental problems because of the isolation, because of the quarantine, because of your inability to get up and get out and just go and do what you want to and intermingle with people, a basic human necessity in life. And we also know coming out of COVID that there was going to be a lot of people that were going to have a problem adjusting to the fact that they may have to go find another job, because a lot of folks lost their jobs, they lost their income, they lost their hopes and dreams, whether they were entrepreneurs or had their own businesses. A lot of small business owners, they had to let it go, especially in that retail and hospice industry. They were hard hit. So we knew this was coming, but we may not have just thought it through all the way. Now, as far as the funding go, at its initial beginning, the funding, federal government, they invested nearly $1 billion to transition and expand the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, which was established in 2005. I didn't know that. But apparently that $1 billion isn't enough. When they say they lack the awareness and not enough stable funding, I believe that lack of awareness, it just doesn't tie into the fact that underestimation of the problems that folks were having. I believe that ties into also not having those mental health advocates or whatever, a crisis intervention specialists, fully trained and educated. Clearly didn't think this thing all the way through. Just didn't. As of now, with that $1 billion the federal government initially gave, what they're saying in at least half of the United States, there's no pending legislation to provide more funding. I hope this isn't going to be one of those things that becomes politicized and this goes away. Like I said earlier, when I was talking about, the liberal versus conservative, that one side, it has to dislike the other if they're in power or whatever, what have you. All of this is tying in. Our human fallacies are being exposed after COVID. Just is. So I would dare I say, or dare I think, this could be a huge problem. Yeah, it is. It's going to be a huge problem. Because at some point in time, at this point, in less than a year, or a year and some change, and there was an initial investment of $1 billion, and it's already pretty much ran through, and they're saying with at least half of the United States not putting forth any legislation to fund these hotlines, it's going to become a political issue. And we all know how politics plays into our day-to-day lives as far as it relates to our well-being. Like I said, if Democrats in office and Republicans are in control of the House and the Senate, a lot of legislation is not going to go through. And same thing with the Democrats. If they're in control of that House and Senate and the Republicans in there, they're going to block and filibuster whatever they have to keep that out. This article goes on to say that as far as awareness, only 13% of Americans know about the hotline. Wow. 13%? A lot of folks don't know about it. A lot of folks aren't using it. Hasn't been, I know personally, for me, when it first came out, it was on the news just about every day, and then it did kind of dwindle away. I would see it on the city buses. Then it was replaced with more advertisements. Wow. And also, it says in a recent study found that out of 388 participants with severe psychological distress, only 23 said they had used the hotline. So what's the disconnect with that? Maybe it's not enough awareness about it. Maybe it goes back to the funding, or maybe it just goes back to, like I said, there are a lot of people that aren't trained and don't know how to really deal with the issue when someone calls you like with in mental distress and feel like they want to harm themselves or others. Lack of training. It sounds like a stretch, but then again, it's not, because I bet you when we really sit down and really evaluate, or when they sit down and evaluate what is going on, that's going to be a problem. Just is. Now, right at the hype of COVID, or right when we were in COVID, they said the suicide rate in the United States spiked, and it was a 2-year decline. And surprisingly, what I also found kind of odd, but then again, it's not, the rate among older men were especially high. Those are those guys that had a lot of vested time, interest, and money, and family and jobs, and COVID came along and swiped all that out. So they couldn't cope. Wow. It goes on to say that there were 30 suicide deaths for every 100 men ages 55 and older in 2021. Dang. A lot of those old guys or middle-aged men, like I said, they had a lot of vested interest, time, and money, and then family, and they put everything on the line for those jobs or for those careers or for those small businesses that they had. They couldn't believe it, couldn't cope. We knew there was going to be a problem, and it's echoing here with this suicide awareness hotline here. Just is. What they also said, that men 85 and older were most at risk. At 85, I would think you would, I'm not going to say you figured it out, but you have an understanding of life. I can't believe that you would try to kill yourself, or maybe feel the need to kill yourself. But with these numbers and these stories, we really and truly have to take a very close look at what's going on in our country with suicides and people feeling the need to take their lives just because life has slapped you a little bit. And I'm not making light of the situation. I'm not being an arrogant, you know what. I can honestly sit here and tell you I've been slapped by life. I've been slapped. I've been kicked. I've been straight dropped on my head. I've been kicked in the you know what. I ain't saying I'm the strongest thing walking or breathing, but I never got to the point where I thought of suicide. I just didn't. For me, it was always, I was raised in a single parent home, and she always said, life ain't gonna be fair to you for whatever reason, whether it be your race, your gender, it just ain't, or your economic status, it ain't. You got to have a stronger belief in God and believe God can see you through. You got to pray. I honestly think wholeheartedly, I know a lot of folks don't like this in this day and age, but we've gotten away from that. Because there also was another report, an article I read a few months ago where it talked about suicides in the black community as far as the teenagers. Not only are the teenagers committing these violent crimes that I talked about, they're also feeling that life is not worth living, and they're killing themselves. And in this report, there was a group of church leaders, and of course, they echoed the sentiment going on throughout the nation, where we need more programs to talk to these kids, more after-school programs, more mentorship, more mentors getting to these kids, talking to them for these single-parent homes or kids who feel they can't talk to their parents. Got it, understand it, and of course they list all these great resources outside in the community, but at the very bottom, they said, and of course, it's time for the church to step up and step in. That should have been number one. in my opinion. That should have been the very first thing that was at the top of the list. I'm not a great spiritual guru. I'm not a Bible thumper. But I can honestly tell you, that has gotten me so far in life. And a lot of times when I look at a lot of people, the things they're going through, and I've been through the same thing or similar thing, or I've been, through something close to that, and they're falling apart. And now I read this, with 2.5 million calls, and those men 55 and older, and I just turned 50, and those men 88 or older, they're feeling the need to end it all. I'm thinking to myself, I'm out on that proverbial limb. Where's your spirituality? Where's your belief in God? Where's your belief that he could pull you through any and everything? Where did you lose it? It's very hard to lose it. I mean, I could lose it in the next day or week or whatever. Something comes along and hits me hard. I could start to get weak and wither away. It's very easy. Because life, hey, let's be honest with each other, it slaps us. It knocks us flat on our you-know-what. But I just fully and wholeheartedly believe, and like I said, I ain't no Bible thumper, I ain't no evangelical, I ain't no conservative Christian or whatever, what have you. But that's the only thing that got me through. It wasn't man. Man is a tool that can be used to help you, but it wasn't mankind. It's my own spirituality, my own belief, and knowledge and knowing God's going to get me through. This ain't the end. Bad as it is, bad as it sounds, bad as it looks right now, and it is bleak and dark and dismal, and I feel like I'm in the depths of hell, but I'm still breathing. I'm 10 toes down. It's got to get better. I just got to figure it out. I make no apologies for that. I can't make any apologies for that. That's what's gotten me through all these years. So I think as it relates to this national suicide hotline, I don't think a lot of thought was put into it as far as the resources and knowledge that was needed. Maybe, just maybe, and this is me out on that proverbial limb again, maybe wholeheartedly, I got to say, we need to go back, take a step back and bring that spirituality back. Ain't nobody saying beat folks over the head with the Bible. But man, this ain't working. I'm not making light of the situation. I'm not laughing. But sometimes you got to laugh to keep from crying. This ain't working here, folks. Like I keep saying, and if you listen to previous podcasts, COVID shook everything up. It turned it upside down. It exposed a lot with the finances, with our educational system, with our spirituality, and our belief, and how we see and view ourselves and others. So maybe, just maybe, COVID won't so bad. Instead of griping about it and saying, woe's me, what I got going on, the troubles, the ills, the wills, maybe it was put in place to make you think and change your life a little bit, make you go a different path. I could be wrong. Who am I? Just a thought. That's all it is. Just a thought. What do I know? Hey, I ain't got no college degree. I'm not no biblical scholar. Oh man. Hey, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to skedaddle. I want to thank you all once again for lending me your ears this morning. And get in that comment section and let me know what you think about these topics I discussed today. From the rain for the quite possibly, the rain, is going to be dry for Thanksgiving here in North Carolina. I know a lot of folks going to enjoy that. Hey, we just are. And for what's going on in Argentina as far as it relates to the international community. Internationally, how we do business, how we conduct trade, what their influence is in this. And it is showing that Latin America, quite possibly, dare I say, like I said, Latin America, the U.S. at some point in time is going to have to do a little business with them. They are closer than going all the way across the pond, because we all know what's going on over there now. Russia and Ukraine, The Middle East is ramped back up again. We're going to have to find somewhere to get that oil. And the environmentalists here, they don't want any digging or fracking here. We're going to have to come to a common ground at some point in time. We just are. And with Durham and its crime woes and troubles as far as it goes as a juvenile, or not even just the juveniles, just in general, is it time, quite honestly, yes, for the community to step up? You can only put so much of the burden on the police in this city council. Those both parts of this system, they showed you what they think about you and how they feel and how they choose to deal with you. Time and time again. So now it's time for you and I to step in. And let me know what you think about the woes and troubles and these numbers with these suicides as it relates to the age of older men and their feeling that they want to end their life at this point. And also with the 988, how they can't keep up with the demand for, of course, lack of funding and really and truthfully awareness of what they were up against. I mean, there was a good talk game coming out of COVID. Yeah, we're ready. We're armed and ready. I think they realized now woes and troubles are here and coming, and they are real. Can't read a manual for everything. You just can't. Just can't. Well, I'm going to get out of here. I kept you folks long enough. As always, thank you for listening and watching. My name is Stephen Carnegie for This Is Just a Thought. Amen.